Very good evening, viewers. It's the dot of 5, and I just want to begin by saying that it's our pleasure once again to bring to you the ringside view of election coverage. Now, viewers, on the 8th, as you all know, the results for both the Himachal and the Gujarat assembly elections will be out. They will be out for all of us to know, but we hope today, as we have done for almost a decade and a half, viewers, to bring you an approximation of the result. And we will do so in about 1.5 hours from now, when we begin to kick off the first set of projections that we will get because of our pollster ETG. We have with us today Padmaja Joshi and, of course, Jay Mrug, who needs no introduction. He has been with us since the day one of Times Now's launch, bringing you psephological insights and breaking down for you data like no one else does in this business. He is perhaps the most distinguished and also, of course, viewers, the most knowledgeable psephologist around. We also have, of course, with us, viewers, today, a panel of experts that is going to put their minds to these projections and give you an assessment of where the story actually lies. Times Now is known as the election news headquarters, viewers, because, as I told you, we leave no stone unturned in bringing to you the absolute facts associated with an election that you can take home and break down. Now, fundamentally, viewers, and I will elaborate on that in just a few moments, we have up in the air a number of elections in the last 1 week. We've had elections in Himachal, we've had elections in, of course, Gujarat, the phase 2 ending today. We'll bring you some turnout figures to update you on how many people have actually voted. We've had an election, hotly contested local body, but high-stakes election in the union capital. We are having one as we speak, ending in the next few hours in Mainpuri, Uttar Pradesh, where the Yadav Khandan, so to speak, is fighting an existential battle to stay relevant in Uttar Pradesh. It's their bastion that goes for a Lok Sabha bypoll. And, of course, upcoming in the next few weeks is going to be the Panchayat election in Bengal. All these elections make up a story. We'll come to all of that later. But the big story, Padmaja, comes out of Gujarat, where it is being thought to be a triangular contest.
Absolutely, and many will vouch. After a very long time, there is this kind of excitement about an election in Gujarat, despite the fact that even last time around it was a very closely fought one. Why? It is because of the entry of the Aam Aadmi Party. Now, let me say this right at the outset, and we've all heard it, Rahul. A lot of people think that the Aam Aadmi Party is more about media hype than actual substance, but travel on the ground, and bear me out on this, Jay, when you speak to people, maybe they do not talk about actually voting for the Aam Aadmi Party, but I would say, having travelled in Gujarat, there were so many seats where I saw more posters of Aam Aadmi Party than I did of the Congress. So, seate, I don't know, but are people talking? What would you say?
Yeah, there is a definitive brand recall. In fact, we found a lot of surprising social media penetration in the rural areas by the Aam Aadmi Party. You know, a small anecdote, I would say, we were going by a tea stall in Surendranagar district, and it was, run by a cowherd and his son. And, he said, yeah, the youth are aware. I said, how are they aware? He opened his phone and showed me an Instagram account that he was following, and that had all these promises and propaganda. So somehow there is a brand recall that is quite clear. But whether it converts to seats, whether they have the polling booth workers or not, we do not know.
Absolutely. So that is a major problem that they have, is that they do not have enough cadre. Since you spoke of anecdotes,
I must bring you into this because we very evocatively, perhaps in some fit of creativity, label these 3 windows that we're seeing on our screens: the contender, the challenger, and the pretender. Who is the challenger, who's the contender, and who's the pretender here? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Well, largely the Gujarat election has been a bipolar election. So in people's mind space, the Congress is primarily seen as a national party, which is the challenger. The pretender, I will not say that we are saying, but that is what the BJP. So I'll tell you another small story why this word pretender comes up. Now, this is very late at night. I was actually sitting with some people who just done door-to-door in Rajkot East. And they said, so I asked them, I said, and they didn't know that I was a journalist. So I was just sitting with people because I was following the door-to-door. And I was just following people around as they were, distributing pamphlets. So I asked the BJP guys, I said, कि आपको क्या लगता क्या है कि आपकी इस बार हवा है, आपकी सीट मिल जाएगी? He said, अब मेरे को ये बताओ कि क्या आपके पास गुजरात में अभी इतने लोग हैं कि हर बूथ पे एक आदमी खड़ा कर दें? आप बाकी सब तो छोड़ दो, और कुछ होना हो, कांग्रेस के पास इतने लोग हैं कि हर बूथ पे उनका एक आदमी खड़ा होगा। हमारे हर बूथ पे 5 आदमी खड़े होंगे, क्योंकि हमारा एक जो शक्ति वो है, शक्ति केंद्र है, शक्ति केंद्र, उसमें 5 लोग हैं जो कि 30 नाम, 5 people to man 30 voters. That is the man to man marking they have done. They see the challenger as the Congress, and they see the Aam Aadmi Party as the pretender. And I can tell you one thing for sure, that as far as the BJP is concerned in Gujarat, their #1 object of hate is Aam Aadmi Party, #2 is the media.
Well, let's look, I'm just being very honest. We are not being presumptuous. We put a question mark against everybody. We are very democratic that way. We ask questions and we put a question mark against everyone up there. The contender, the challenger and the pretender. Hawa kiski hai aur kiski hawa gul hone wali hai. We will know, of course, officially on the 8th, but we are going to, over the next few hours, elaborate on that. Now, triangular election. Let's look a little bit into history, and I want to very quickly, because the last time we saw a triangular fight, and I want to bring in Brahender Chaudhary. As we were having our edit meeting today, we talked about this triangular election, and let's look at history a little bit. And there are 3 faces there that you might see on your screens. That's 1990 Tryst with Triangularity. That's Chiman Bhai Patel. 1998 Waghela, who was a breakaway, Shankar Singh Waghela, and also Keshu Bhai Patel in 2012. Now, let me go across to Brahender Chaudhary. Brahender Chaudhary, ये जो आपने आज बोला था, ये important है. आपने बोला था कि पहले भी triangular contest की बात हुई है, मगर वो असल में triangularity बनी नहीं उसमें. आप जरा थोड़ा उसको elaborate कीजिए.
देखिए, गुजरात के चुनावी इतिहास को यदि आप देखें तो 62 साल का इतिहास है, यानी कि 60 के दशक में गुजरात को बनाया गया था मुंबई प्रांत से. तब से लेके सिर्फ 3 मौके ऐसे आए हैं जब ट्रायंगुलर होता दिखाई दिया. पहले उसके किरदार थे चिमन भाई पटेल, जो पहले तो कांग्रेसी थे, लेकिन बाद में जेडी बना के उन्होंने 90 के चुनाव में पार्टी में शामिल हुए, चुनाव में जिसमें उन्होंने 67 सीट तो पाया, लेकिन 70 सीट, लेकिन वो बहुत दिन चला नहीं. एक बार वो बीजेपी के साथ सरकार बनाए, दूसरी बात कांग्रेस के साथ. उसके बाद 98 में बघेला साहब ने अलग पार्टी बनाई, और वो पार्टी भी हस्र ये हुआ कि जब चुनावी दौर में आए तो सिर्फ 4 सीटों पर सिमट के रह गए. वो भी आरएसएस बीजेपी के ही थे. तीसरा मौका आया 2012 में, जब केशु भाई पटेल, जो भाजपा के फॉर्मर चीफ मिनिस्टर थे, बड़े कद्दावर नेता थे, लेकिन जब चुनावी मैदान में वो आते हैं तो वो बिल्कुल कुछ नहीं कर पाए. सिर्फ 2 सीटों पर वो जीत हासिल कर पाए.
आंकड़ों पे भी थोड़ा नजर रखते हैं. पद्मजा, put this into context with Jay.
All right, so essentially we have to remember that when we are making a comparison, we will just pull up the data from the past to see how people did when they tried to float a third front. Yeah. Jay, if you could explain that to us, let's just go across and take this data on a larger screen. When we're talking about 1990 to begin with, what do you make of the kind of impact that a third front had at that time?
It was very fascinating. If you look at the vote shares, the Congress was marginally ahead of the Janata Dal, 30.5, 29.5, and the BJP 26.7. Now, it's very important to remember that at this point of time, the Janata Dal did not contest all 182. They contested about 145. The BJP about 125, right? So basically, a very friendly contest, but in at least about 60 to 70 seats, it was a 1-to-1 contest with the Congress, which is why the triangularity did not benefit the Congress. 30.5, 33 seats, 29.5, 70 seats. So in a way, the first past the post system will produce anomalies.
All right. So what about when Shankar Singh Waghela was in the fray? What happened then?
Look, Mr. Waghela, in spite of being one of the founders of the state BJP, could not actually mobilize a huge number of voters. He got about 12% of the vote share, and he ended up with about something like 4 seats. So basically, the BJP was almost left with its 2/3 majority intact, and Mr. Waghela had to be, satisfied with 4 seats. Keshubhai, the same thing in 2012. He said this is the final clarion call to throw Mr. Modi out. He floated the Gujarat Parivartan Party. He had another chief minister with him, his colleague Suresh Mehta. And yet, they polled only 3.6% of the votes and won 2 seats.
So let me ask you this, and let's get this started with Ashutosh. When Amit Shah, interestingly, we were just looking at some of his interviews in the recent past, Ashutosh ji, and every time he was asked, ki kya ye trikoniya mukabla hai, he said there is no three-cornered fight. Congress and BJP are the only ones in the fray. Do you think this is truly a three-cornered fight or just hype?
See, frankly speaking, Aam Aadmi Party is something like elephant in the room, but nobody knows its size. So everybody just guessing. Everybody seriously guessing about Aam Aadmi Party. If you go to the tribal areas, people will say there is a recall value of Aam Aadmi Party, the recall value of Kejriwal, there is a recall value of Jhadu. But whether will it convert into the votes, whether it will convert into the seats, nobody knows. Frankly speaking, yes, it is true that Gujarat has truly only once in 1990 has been the tri-corner contest. Otherwise, Gujarat has been a bipolar political party. But what I am doubting, suspecting this time is that like 2012, when the whole world got to know what is the Lawa Patel and what is the Kalwa Patel, an entire debate and discussion about the Gujarat election, where whether Keswai Patel is going to be a major factor in Gujarat election. But finally, what happened? Only 3.4 kind of percent vote share they got. Similar thing also happened in Punjab, the same year in 2012. If you remember, Manpreet Singh Badal, he broke away from the Badal formed a political party and election. Whether Manpreet Badal is going to get 20% vote share or 30% vote share, and finally it came down to 4% or 5% vote share. My suspicion is Aam Aadmi Party, being a new political party, has a lot of excitement, lot of enthusiasm about this party. People want to know this, but whether they are really going to vote for Aam Aadmi Party, I have very, very serious doubts. 2 reasons. One, they don't have a leadership at the state level. Secondly, they don't have an organization. Without an organization, you can't convert your sympathies into the votes and into the seats. It's very difficult.
Well, let's very quickly, and Padmaja, this is something important. Let's have a look at what the various contenders, pretenders, and challengers have had to say about each other. I'm not singling out anyone here, but the Prime Minister himself has come out and dismissed the chances of AAP. So is Mr. Amit Shah. In fact, at the Times Now summit, he says, we are only in a fight, and it's a two-way fight between us and the Congress. We don't know about any other entity, etc. Let's listen in to some of these very evocative sound bites that came out a few days ago.
अंदर मनमाथी निकले थे आवाज ये हूं कहूं जो ये निकले थे आ गुजरात मैं बनाव्यू छे हूं कैसा गुजरात તમે બધા હાથ આમ કરીને બોલજો मैं बनाव्यू छे
कितनी सीटें कांग्रेस लेगी गुजरात में बताओ
गुजरात में बहुमत आएगा हमारी सरकार बनेगी
कितनी सीटें कांग्रेस लेगी गुजरात में बताओ
गुजरात में बहुमत आएगा हमारी सरकार बनेगी
मैं आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ आपकी कंपटीशन में आपको कांग्रेस से ज्यादा कंफर्ट रहता है या अन्य पार्टियों से?
देखिए मेरा मानना है कि वहां स्पर्धा भारतीय जनता पार्टी और कांग्रेस के साथ है तो जो जमीनी हकीकत है वहां पर सीधा सीधा भाजपा और कांग्रेस के बीच में स्पर्धा है।
सर जैसे जैसे गुजरात के चुनाव नजदीक आते जा रहे हैं हम देख रहे हैं कि कांग्रेस पूरी तरह से कोलैप्स होती जा रही है। अभी भी अगर कोई हार्डकोर कांग्रेस के वोटर बचे हैं वो अपना वोट कांग्रेस को ना देकर खराब ना करें, आम आदमी पार्टी को वोट दें।
Talking about, how there are 3 parties in the fray. Let me open this out again and get in Yuvraj Pokharna. Here is playing the devil's advocate, Yuvraj. When people say that, Aam Aadmi Party is going to, they compare them to Shankar Singh Waghela or Keshubhai Patel, is it a fair comparison? Because as opposed to breakaways or rebels, here is a party which is already in power in 2 states and they are coming with a fair bit of zeal, not just as rebel candidates.
For starters, if you talk about Aam Aadmi Party, there is no Aam Aadmi Party in Gujarat as of now. But I said as of now. But yes, kudos to Aam Aadmi Party. They kick-started their campaign back in March 2022.
What do you
and
mean
yes,
there is no Aam Aadmi Party? Okay,
I said as of now.
If they get 20% vote share, 20% vote share, you think that's a commendable performance? Let's not hold them to a higher standard. If they get, like, say, 2 seats and 20%.
Padmaja, what ground says is Aam Aadmi Party successfully managed to create a flutter, and that flutter was in October and September. But as November came, Aam Aadmi Party is nowhere to be seen. And if we talk about ground realities, there are 51,000 polling booths in Gujarat, and borrowing your own words, they don't have a single person there.
But they have a lot of people they brought in from Punjab.
Of course,
Punjab MLAs are there. They've got Karyakartas from Delhi and Punjab.
I have witnessed a lot of Chandigarh vehicles in fact, my city, Surat.
No, but that's true of a large number of other political parties also. It's not as if the BJP's cadres from different states don't actually camp in a particular state where it's fighting an election. So maybe that's a slightly fallacious analogy. I think what might matter is the candidates that you pick and where they are from. Jemruk, what do you believe? The AAP's candidates, obviously sons of soil, but not all of them are from the AAP movement. A lot of them are borrowed.
No, Rahul, it's very interesting. It seems that AAP has actually derived from its 2013 Delhi experience. When, between 2013 and 15, they actually absorbed a lot of candidates from other parties, independents, just focusing on winnability. In Gujarat, they seem to have decided that, that's what the data shows, that we do not have many winnable candidates. Let's just copy and paste, cut and paste.
Let's actually take a look at a few of the seats that we've identified, where truly it is a three-sided contest.
Absolutely.
And one of them actually is Viramgam. More in the news because of its BJP candidate Hardik Patel, but there's an interesting Aam Aadmi Party angle here. Tell us about it, Jay.
Brilliant. Now see, what the AAP has done, it's fielded a Thakur. Traditionally, Thakurs are the voters of Congress. That's where the surveys have identified them, so with all the disclaimers. And now they're trying to capitalize on the local, sort of electoral rivalry between Thakurs and Patels, and they have fielded a Thakur. So they're quite sort of trying to queer the pitch over there. Whether they succeed or not, we do not know, but they've attempted to queer the pitch.
Okay, the next seat that we are looking at where the Aam Aadmi Party is strong is the one in Wankaner.
Now, again, very interesting. The BJP candidate is Jeetu Somani. Last time he lost by a very narrow margin, 0.7%. Now, the Congress candidate, Muhammad Pirzada, is a very popular local Muslim saint, very well revered by Hindus and Muslims. Now, what the AP has done here is, it has brought in a Koli candidate. He's the state president of the Koli Samaj, Vikram Sorani, directly to cut into the supposed Hindu votes of the BJP. So again, we don't know whether they win or not, but they're going to clear the pitch.
Okay, the next seat that we are looking at is, let's be a little faster on this. What is the third seat that we are looking at? Is it Garyadhar?
Garyadhar. Now, Garyadhar was a seat won by the Indian National Congress the last time. What the AP has done is, now this is something that we got a lot of anecdotes from the ground in Saurashtra, that during the first COVID lockdown, they used a lot of the NGO support system to penetrate almost all the constituencies. Mr. Sudhir Bhagani is a product of the COVID relief work. He's become a local hero, and the AP has pitched in him. He is still rated as one of the best possible chances of the AP.
The funny thing is, before we take the next seat, let me get a quick word from Akashdeep Muni as well and Lokesh Jindal sitting next to each other, but perhaps the two parties that they support are the ones who are at loggerheads right now. Interesting thing that we observed, when the Patidar Anamat Andolan happened, most people thought that these PAS people, the PAS activists, are going to be snapped up by the Congress. One of them was Akashdeep Muni, which was Hardik Patel, now he's in the BJP. The others, would you agree, have all now found their way to the Aam Aadmi Party, calculated move to gain as much as possible from whatever remnants are there of the Patidar Andolan.
See, first of all, this election of Gujarat, Aam Aadmi Party is not fighting an election on caste, community or creed or Congress or BJP MLAs taking in and out. They are fighting on specifically
the Delhi model.
Not specifically the Delhi model, also the Punjab model. Because you might remember, sir, that in 2017 the
Are you
issue...
suggesting that the AAP is not playing the caste card at all?
No, I am not. I am suggesting that the AAP is playing the most important card. There is an issue card of inflation, issue card of unemployment, issue card of electricity, roads, etc.
Doctor, very quickly, yes, that's the issue card.
No, I'll come back to what Dr. Saab is saying, but on a lighter note, this is an inflection point in many ways than one, Rahul, that for the last 3-4 years, whenever I've been, on the election panel, I used to say that I will be on Times Now all day long, but I'll be watching a rival channel all day long, because one takes vicarious pleasure whenever Modi and BJP are winning to see the people who are really morose, and there's a German phrase for it, Schadenfreude. But now I can't even say that because Adani has bought into that channel. But anyway, I think when people vote, especially business-oriented people, especially Gujaratis, they don't vote for anything other than the reasons that will make them richer, more prosperous, more healthier. And Dr. Moni, if you look at, I can go point by point and rebut you on the things. For example, you talked about unemployment. Do you, for example, know that while the national average of unemployment in India is 8% in November, in Gujarat it is 2.5%, in Rajasthan it is 25%. Unemployment is not an issue in Gujarat. So please don't rake up issues that are non-existent. You talk of health, for example. Do you know that the IMR has been reduced from 60 to 23 by the BJP? You talk of every other thing. For example, just 10 seconds. You talk of infrastructure that the Gujaratis, business-loving Gujaratis love. Did you know in the last 5 years, the most favored destination in India for setting up projects is Gujarat? 14.7% of all projects are coming to Gujarat. Only 12% Maharashtra, 9.5% Karnataka. So if you have to win the trust of the Gujaratis, you better win it on concrete data and facts, not on emotions.
I would like to come in here. Aam Aadmi Party knows it very well that you cannot fish in clean water. It is very clear. It knows right now that the water in Gujarat is muddy. People are confused, so it is ready with its hook. If the fish gets in, it's fine. Otherwise, they will say, "Hum seekhenge." The point is, they are simply gaining experience out of this particular election and its campaign. They are not at all serious contenders, because the model which they talk about, governance. Now, what do you talk about governance? Are they going to do away with the civil services? Are they going to do away with the administration? Are they going to come up with certain institution? No. What they say is, we are going to provide certain freebies. Now, these freebies is not what development is. Development is not, exchanging institutions and thereby bringing about some form of...
There is a reaction from the Prime Minister at a particular rally where he actually talked about this. I'm going to pull that one out in just a few moments. But some breaking news coming in, Padmaja. I believe that the Congress party is making its way to the Election Commission to complain about the Prime Minister's roadshow today.
Absolutely. So the Prime Minister, just before he was going in to vote, he had walked on the road and he had waved out to people who had collected at the side of the road, and quite a sizable number of people, and he had waved out to them. So now the Congress has written this letter saying that Mr. Modi and his roadshow are in contravention of the Model Code of Conduct. As per the MCC, a roadshow or any other type of procession is not permissible on polling day. The PM has completed a roadshow on his way to cast his vote. This is a gross contravention of the rules. That is what the Congress has written to the Election Commission, saying that you are influencing voters shamelessly. Let's take this straight across to Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan. Madhav, what do the rules say about a roadshow, and does this qualify as one?
Well, the BJP will have its own set of arguments, while in fact the Election Commission is talking about, or rather the Congress party is complaining to the Election Commission, saying that this is indeed a roadshow, that they've tried to complain to the Election Commission, but their complaints have not been met with the kind of response they want. The BJP is going to come out and say that the Prime Minister is someone who's been the Chief Minister, he enjoys a tremendous amount of popularity, and it's the people in that particular area who admire him, who've come out on the streets to welcome him, and that he did not even take his official vehicle to that particular polling booth. He parked it about 200 meters away and then walked from there to the polling booth. That's likely to be the legal argument. So if you're just going to talk about the legalities, then certainly, of course, the BJP will have a strong ground in terms of saying that there was absolutely no question of any campaign, given that there was no publicity material, no campaign material that the Prime Minister was carrying or his supporters were carrying. He only walked, in fact, with his security detail and one or two leaders, including the local candidate, who were there outside the polling booth, and he stood in line just as any voter would to stand and cast his mandate. But also, of course, what the Congress is saying is that this has happened, and it has happened in the past. In 2014, 2017 as well. In fact, the Prime Minister did in fact visit the polling booth in a similar manner. But the question that BJP supporters are raising is that if that is indeed the case, then why was there no formal complaint at that point of time? And of course, if the Election Commission feels that there is any rule that has been violated, then of course they can take the appropriate action. So at least in terms of the legality of it, at this point of time, it doesn't look like the Election Commission.
All of this, of course, will be discussed very quickly. Ashutosh.
See, can you ask a Prime Minister or any leader not to walk? You can't. Technically speaking, legally speaking, there is no case. But since there's a model code of conduct, an election commission can always go and interpret the way they want, that you are trying to influence the voter. But there is no legal case here, there is no legal issue here.
No legal case.
No, definitely. You know, BJP knows elections and how to mobilize voters and elections very nicely. And Prime Minister Modi has done it brilliantly always. And in this particular case, there is no legality involved. So, of course, this is a very nice ploy by the Prime Minister.
A political party which resorts to gimmicks such as felicitating the perpetrators of Shah Bano lacks morality, and we do not expect it. Shah Bano case, and then Bilkis Bano. I'm sorry, Bilkis Bano.
Said, sir, very limited point
let me tell you, we do not expect a moral code of conduct from BJP. It will resort to all form of immorality, and over here the Prime Minister did not just walk. He carried out an entire road show. That is a clear violation of moral code of conduct.
You know, ironically, for a country with very little roads to show for, we seem to be having a lot of road shows lately. But can I please, prod my good friend Lokesh? He's talking about the road show of Narendra Modi in Gujarat. Can you please explain why for the last 2-3 months there is a road show happening every day by Rahul Gandhi, but not in Gujarat?
You are doing a wrong parallel.
No, he's asking why didn't you start from, let's say...
So the point is, when we talk about Bharat Jodo Yatra, the objective is entirely different. The objective is not clearly political. The objective involves...
See, if there had been a chief election commissioner like T.N. Session, obviously he would have certainly booked Narendra Modi. Because I remember there was a time when if anybody was, as a film star was contesting election or campaigning for somebody, for the entire month his films were not shown on the Doordarshan. So if you apply that rule, then obviously there is a manipulation, there is a violation. But if you strictly go by law, I think you can't stop anybody from walking on the road. If somebody is waving, you can't say you are asking for votes. It's a matter of interpretation.
Shekhar Ayyar, let me bring him in.
Even if he is waving, he will be showing his hand.
He's not asking for votes.
There is no FIR in him.
This is not the first time. We've had these controversies. Every time the Prime Minister has gone to cast his vote, sometimes people have focused on his lapels to say that he wore a lotus, this, that, the other. G20 logo also was seen. Anyhow, but this is, what I think Dr. Akashdeep Muni was saying, no illegality but surrogacy. Let me go across to Shekhar Ayyar. Shekhar Ayyar, how do you situate this debate that is raging around the Prime Minister's walk? Let's split the screen there. You're on mute, I think. Shekhar ji, you're on mute. Yeah.
No, I feel that there is a frustration is already setting in even before the exit polls are out. And if you watch the video today, this morning, when he was walking towards the booth, there were local BJP leaders there who were trying to offer him saffron scarf. He refused, knowing very well that that itself will become a problem. And last time, the case that he was wearing a lotus symbol. And also he addressed the media within the 300 meters distance from the booth. I think he was very careful this time, but definitely there was enthusiasm among the onlookers, and Modi always responds to the onlookers. And as Ashutosh was mentioning, Election Commission is going to go by the legality. I mean, there might have been a personality like T.N. Session. T.N. Session did so many things, but today, Election Commission will go by the legality. And I think this is making a big thing out of virtually nothing.
Okay, and so also, Lokesh Jindal, because you said that here's the Prime Minister walking and this qualifies as a road show, I remember for a fact that at least in 2 Lok Sabha elections, when Mrs. Gandhi comes to vote, when Priyanka Gandhi Vadra comes to vote, along with Robert Vadra in central Delhi, they also walk some stretch of the road because the car is not allowed till the polling booth. Now, would that also qualify as a road show? And they also wave, by the way. I have personally seen
There's a difference between some stretch, I mean walking for some stretch
so
and
what in
walking
your
for
dictionary
a
of
large
roadshows
stretch.
qualifies as this exact stretch and exact pose which is a roadshow and which is not a roadshow?
See, when I'm talking about model code of conduct, it was a voluntary code of conduct that was agreed upon by all political parties to ensure that the elections are free and fair. So when I'm talking about the Prime Minister, now over here, he is not just a political member, he is holding an executive post. He must set an example. I mean, as he is coming down to vote, he is also the Prime Minister of the country. So what I expect him is to observe the model code of conduct in letter and spirit and set a good example rather than showing a poor political spirit.
He knows how to play by the book. Period.
See, what election commission could have done and should have done, ask all the TV channels not to show Modi and not to show Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra both. Because
why? But you know,
no, I'm again going
Yatra.
I'm again
entirely
going by the old
coming here.
No.
For example,
Anand, why I'm saying so?
When you say TN session barred for 1 month any films to be showed of the candidates, I think that's unfair. Why? I mean,
I think that was a norm. I'm only saying is you cannot stop Rahul Gandhi from going for a road show, for Bharat Jodo Yatra, but you can always request television channels not to show this.
I don't know if you can call them mature after they storm their own, Senate, etc. But nonetheless, you have democracies, very open democracies, where you have 3 time zones. And there are rolling exit polls that are happening. And they start off in the evening when one particular time zone is still about 5 hours behind. The East Coast, for example. So I don't understand this. I find it quite irritating and quite silly to think that...
Very patronizing.
Very patronizing and extremely... Anyhow, that's a larger debate. But the fact of the matter is, viewers, that these debates can't be stopped. They will happen. And there will be people who will come out and they will make all sorts of claims.
If I may just add one more point, okay?
Yes.
While with the greatest of respect to the Model Code of Conduct, the Election Commission, let's face it, are we seriously saying that there are people standing in queue who suddenly, who by the way don't even have access to TV, okay, let's assume they're watching it on their phone, who were otherwise going to vote for Congress, and suddenly they see Mr. Modi like, nah, ab to BJP ko hi vote dena padega because Mr. Modi is walking for 2.1 kilometers. I mean, this may be a slightly academic discussion that we have. When we were talking about caste, and Akashdeep Muni said that Aam Aadmi Party works only on issues and not on caste, let's really call that bluff, because now we are going to see the other 7 seats where the Aam Aadmi Party has very strategically chosen their candidates. Yeah. So when you say, it's not like you have chosen some, electrical engineer because bijli ka mudda hai. You have chosen, wahan Brahman khada hai, wahan Koli khada hai, aapne Ahir ko khada kiya hai. So you are very, very clear how you are choosing Aam Aadmi Party's candidate. Yeah. Let's see the next seat that we have chosen from Rajkot. Go on.
Yeah, so we have, it's very fascinating. Here you have Rahul Bhua from the AAP, who is a prominent Patidar leader. And, okay, now one sentence, I forget this gentleman's name. Akashdeep. Okay, very informally, one thing that came across in all the conversations that the Patidars were the financial mentors of the AAP. Came across in all conversations in Gujarat. So, now, the BJP has fielded Uday Kangad, who is an Ahir. Again here, AP has strategically played on the caste, completely on the economic and the social issues.
Ahir is an OBC. What you otherwise called a Yadav in Uttar Pradesh.
Absolutely.
Is a Kangad there. Yes, an Ahir.
So again,
Indranil Rajguru is a Brahmin.
Is a Brahmin. So very clearly, they have understood the caste landscape. They have even plucked candidates, if not from this, from another party.
Here, look at the caste, this thing, because we are like, issue pe ho raha hai, caste pe nahi ho raha hai. So when you had an Ahir, an OBC, and you had a Brahmin, then they decided to choose a Patel. But we're supposed to believe caste does not play a factor. Let's take a look at the next seat.
But Indranil Rajguru was one of the tall leaders of Aam Aadmi Party in Gujarat. He defected just 2 days before.
No, sir, he was initially in the Congress. He went to the Aam Aadmi Party for just 2 months.
When they declared this fellow as a chief ministerial candidate, then he left.
When they declared Isudan Gadvi, then he came back to the Congress. He came back to the Congress, and by the way, he came back to the Congress and he said कि मैंने अपनी आंखों से अरविंद केजरीवाल को पेटी भर के पैसा लेते हुए देखा है.
He actually moved because of in ideology he wouldn't have left. So quite clearly you were very comfortable taking in somebody who was an opportunist and who then decided to exit the scene. So Dr. Muni.
I know where you're going. But the most important point is that, in Gujarat specifically, there is huge anti-incumbency against BJP. but then also they are still in a fighting space. Now Congress is nowhere in Gujarat, with all respect to Lokesh Jindal ji, because they have given up. Even I'll just ask, we were discussing that why Prime Minister Modi is walking down. Who has denied Congress people?
And a massage.
Who has denied the Congress leaders to not walk on?
Something really weird about this argument. Now hang on. In Delhi, when the BJP fielded its star campaigners, including the Home Minister, you said, "Bhai, ye kya ho raha hai?" Why is the BJP fielding? Hang on, one second. No, doctor, so that doesn't matter. Now you're contradicting yourself. You're saying that Rahul Gandhi should have actually invested time, and I don't disagree with you, but I'm actually quite startled by your hypocrisy. So when the BJP's top leadership, top brass invests in the MP polls, you say, "Dekho kaise hil gaye hain." I think you used some very off-color language to actually describe what was happening. Hindi is not so good, so I'll probably butcher what you said and probably land myself up in a lot of trouble. But in Gujarat, you are obviously critical of Rahul Gandhi because he hasn't hit the trail. So what does this mean?
See, we were talking about MCD elections. Now,
MCD?
No, I'm talking about MCD. One liner on MCD. MCD, Aam Aadmi Party is going to win MCD like anything. Even Bhagwant Mann had not come to MCD elections, but 7 chief ministers of Bharatiya Janata Party have come to MCD elections.
Do you think, is this the contempt you have for an elector? Because remember, at the end of the day, the interface between the state and the particular voter shrinks dramatically in an MCD election. I would think it's probably the most important election.
I'll just come in.
MCD is the most difficult election because the voter base is very low. And the candidate
talking about the local level, they are in Kutch region. Just give me a minute, please. In Kutch region, their candidate deflected to BJP. I mean, he gave up outrightly, the Abdasa candidate. And second, I'm talking about the entire Saurashtra region. Okay, we agreed that they managed to clinch some seats in Rajkot in the local body elections. But let me tell you, Aam Aadmi Party at the grassroots level is nowhere. In the milk cooperative sector, the entire north of Gujarat, when you talk about Banaskantha, Sabarkantha, the Anand region, the Aam Aadmi Party doesn't even know if there is a milk sector which exists, although the milk sector accounts for about 50 seats in the entire Gujarat election.
We will look at the region-wise. Just give me a second, because we've got some news coming in right now. We've got the provisional voter turnout for now overall in Gujarat, and it stands at about 58%. That is what I'm being told, and the highest is in Banaskantha. So the voter turnout till about 5 p.m. is 58%. Let's take a quick look at this again. Gujarat still behind the 2017 figures that we had. Banaskantha is 65% right now. What do you see this as?
Sort of do a rough math and extend this number. In the first phase, the numbers kept pouring until 11 o'clock. They kept updating. That time they gained about 5%.
So Banaskantha is tribal, right?
No, Banaskantha is the north of Gujarat that borders Pakistan and Rajasthan.
Rajasthan. And that is also the region. Oh, that's the Banas Dairy. That is where you have the Sabse Bada Milk Cooperative.
Yeah, you have all of it there. It's also a region very popular for smuggling. It's just next to Pakistan.
All right. So that's the place that Lokesh Jindal was talking about. Very huge clout that milk cooperatives have in this area. In Banaskantha, traditionally they have been with the BJP, but before the BJP was in government, the Congress almost had a Chhatra Raj over these milk cooperatives. Yes, quick comment.
See, no, I'll add to about the entire region. Since I would say August, the entire region is facing a massive fodder shortage. So the entire community over here, it thrives upon the milk sector, but the government was unable to bring any respite to it. What the Gujarat cooperative sector did, it raised the milk prices by 2 rupees outside Gujarat, but in Gujarat it kept the same, so that the people who are dependent upon the milk sector, they are not affected. But let me tell you, at the grassroots level, these entire communities who are based upon the milk sector, they are not at all happy with the rule of BJP, and it is this particular sector which is going to incline heavily towards the Congress.
So very quickly, just to rebut the good Dr. Muni, you see, earlier he was talking about there is huge unemployment. I gave him the figures. Unemployment in Gujarat is 2%, in Rajasthan 25%.
Maybe less than.
Yeah, it's even less now. And India is 8.some%. Now he's talking about huge anti-incumbency. Now, there is nothing called anti-incumbency. Is not a set data, I mean, where you can say, look, this much 25% income. It's like all relative, abstract. But can I please ask him, the kind of absolute free-for-all promises that Arvind Kejriwal has been showering upon Gujaratis, I want to ask him one question. You won Gujarat, fantastic, congratulations. You promised 1,000 rupees to every woman in Punjab. Have you fulfilled that? It's been 1 year, yes or no?
Has it been 1 year?
How
that is the point. We in Punjab, the Aam Aadmi Party promised that they will be providing 300 units free electricity.
No, talk about
apart from that.
No,
I'll talk about all the points. All the points. Why not talk all the points? On 300 per unit electricity, every BJP leader said that Aam Aadmi Party, with the condition that Shiromani Akali Dal, BJP and Congress left Punjab, cannot do this 300 units free electricity. We have done it. Aam Aadmi Party has done it.
Just a second. There's some breaking news coming in. Amit Shah has spoken to the Gujarat BJP chief as we wind down polling in the state of Gujarat. A conversation between the two. One presumes that this is about stock taking, right, Padmaja? This would be about that.
Absolutely. So in the afternoon today, all of the BJP's padadhikaris, all of their morchas, Yuva Morcha, Mahila Morcha, all of their central executive, they had a meeting in Delhi. So the Prime Minister yesterday was at Sri Kamalam. He had a meeting with C.R. Patil, with Amit Shah, with Bhupendra Patel. They were all there yesterday night. Today morning he flew in and he had that meeting, and now he's having another review meeting with C.R. Patil all over again. What's interesting though, and a lot of people, this has been a recurrent commentary, that today as the last phase of polling was taking place, already you had a meeting of the BJP National Executive and all of their associate bodies taking place, where they are saying, oh, next year we are going to host the G20 and in 2024 we are going to have an election. So let's now start brainstorming for those elections. So that is the nature of the BJP's election machinery, almost a juggernaut. It's like, there are like pit stops and then you keep rolling forward. I think, yes.
Also, interestingly, the Aam Aadmi Party says that the sources in the Aam Aadmi Party are saying that this is going to be an hung verdict. So, I don't know.
What happened to that 92?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead. Jay?
Yeah, that thing out on
verdict,
Twitter,
is it possible?
that letter out on Twitter with 92 to 100 seats.
We can pull that up.
Yeah, the Aam Aadmi Party said we are going to get 100 seats.
100
why is there a hung assembly?
Now there's a hung assembly. Maybe they're getting 100, or maybe they're getting less than 100. Maybe they're getting 78, and someone else is getting 76.
Maybe they've given themselves 90 to themselves, 90 to BJP,
That's right.
and 2 to Congress.
I have a question. See, this is the election where the vote percent is going down. Yeah. Like in the first phase, this was just 63%, 2017 68%, 2012 71%. Yeah. Again it has come down less than 60%. So, no. So the fact is, what is the level of vote percentage into the urban centers? Because Ahmedabad was low, Surat was low.
Ahmedabad is the lowest.
So who is going to be benefited and who is going to be
Well, we were very well aware that this question would come up, and I think Jay has done some great maths on it, so we're going to pull that up.
Let's pull up that, the voter percentage historic data as well.
So it's about 4.7% down overall. It's 5.74 in urban and 3.68 in rural. So urban has dipped slightly more than rural. Yeah. Now, if you look at it historically, right, it doesn't mean that a low turnout goes against the incumbent. You look at this is the record of Mr. Madhav Singh Solanki, right? This 149.
1985.
Yeah, 1985.
Okay, what happened here?
Yeah, there's just a 49% turnout. It's perhaps much lower than all the numbers we are looking from 2012, 17 and 22. Okay. Yet the incumbent comes back with 149. You look at Mr. Modi's record as Chief Minister, 127, repeating the first term.
So this is the highest the BJP has ever got, right? 2012.
Yes, 127.
So you're basically saying that if it was really low, even then the incumbent has won.
Yeah.
And when it was really high, even then the incumbent has won.
So actually,
so you've basically taken away one major trope of punditry that turnout se pata chalega ki result kya hone wala hai. Because turnout se kuch nahi pata chalta.
Actually, my job is to make things as tasteless.
It always benefit a political party which has got a strong organization and strong cadre.
That's another point.
Because they can always go and pull out their sympathizer for voting, but those who don't have an organization.
Predict an outcome.
Generally, I think if the people are hugely dissatisfied with the incumbent, then they go out in large numbers to vote. I don't know whether that holds
It's a wave
true.
election. It denotes that there is no wave in the particular
It's a wave
assembly.
election.
I mean, the
BJP has got a very huge organization in Gujarat and in other parts. So they know exactly where are their sympathizers.
Let me bring in Shekhar Iyer also on this point. Mr. Shekhar Iyer, turnout, result. Any correlation? Now you've seen so many elections. Is it all mixed?
Well,
it's a mixed bag?
Well, I think it's a mixed bag because when it comes to Gujarat, as we were just discussing, I mean, it doesn't reflect it. But definitely a question that is coming is whose voters did not come to vote? You know, were they voters of the BJP or were they voters of the Congress or were they the new voters for Aam Aadmi Party? We do not know that. So therefore, to conclude on this basis, I think will be totally off the mark.
Yuvraj Pokharna.
I think regarding the vote share, first of all, there is no relation between the poll results and the voting percentage. I think Mr. Ashutosh can corroborate more on this. If you remember the left winning Bengal, the vote percentage used to vacillate 4 to 5%. The vote percentage used to remain the same during the 30-year reign of left government in Bengal. But still,
no, vote percentage as in voter turnout, or are you talking about votes cast? Turnout. Okay, so it didn't make a difference to the outcome. That's what you're saying. But generally, a general rule of thumb, Padmaja and Jay.
Mr. Rahul, if I may borrow 30 seconds, and no offense, sir, borrowing your own adage, if I may enlighten my friend, Mr. Akash Debuni, आपने कहा था कि आप is playing the issue card. No offense. Gujarat unit has openly touted the much wanted OTP theory. O stands for OBCs, E for tribals and P for partidar. तो सर मैं गुजरात की भूमि से हूँ इसलिए बता रहा हूँ they are openly playing the caste card. OTP theory.
I'll actually factually get along with Yuvraj. Let me just substantiate this point.
Let's go across to Jay.
We've observed this across. They've actually tried to build a coalition of partidars, colis and other smaller communities which they very well know want to defect from the existing parties. They're very clear, and it's an election beyond issues for them, whatever they say. Of course.
Because you know, at the end of the day, like Yuvraj only told me a few days ago, most people associate the Uttar Pradesh elections with casteism, ki ye caste isko vote degi, but Gujarat, and when you travel through it, you will realize, has got a far more complex caste matrix. There were several castes there, like, you know, what we ordinarily call Rajputs. They call Darbars there. So, you know, you would have OBCs or you will have Yadavs. They'll say Bharwad hai wahan pe. So, there are very, very different castes and it is very strategic.
If we go back to the
like, for example, I'll tell you, just
the caste example comes out there.
So, in Saurashtra, in one of the seats that I went to, the Congress has fielded an OBC, if I am not mistaken, and the BJP has fielded a Patidar. Now, largely that area is a Koli OBC. All of Saurashtra is Koli OBC, Patidar, Koli OBC, Patidar. So you have to pretty much choose between them. And then you've got little pockets of Jains, like, you know, the ex-chief minister and Rajputs. So the Congress guy, when, you know, I was speaking to a few people at a tea stall, and the Congress, the local person was watching me. So when I came away, वो सब पाटीदार थे. तो उन्होंने कहा बीजेपी 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 बीजेपी. जब मैं वापस आई कांग्रेस के जो वहां पे रिप्रेजेंटेटिव थे उनसे बात करने, उनसे मैम आप मेरा लिख के ले लो कि ये सब पाटीदार हैं, तो ये कैमरे पे आपको पटेल पटेल बोलेंगे, बट इनकी अगर वाइफ भी इनसे कहे ना ये कभी पटेल को वोट नहीं करेंगे, ये सबके सब अहीर है. So that is the level of strategic voting that happens caste-wise. They are like, हम अपने caste को vote देंगे.
Let's 1 second. Go ahead.
कभी नहीं जाती.
Okay, very good. Let me just go straight across to Madhav. Madhav, some updates coming from Election Commission sources. What are you hearing?
Well, Rahul, the official numbers as far as the turnout at this point of time is 58%, but that's the number just before 5 o'clock. What sources are indicating to us is that as it happens in the case of other elections, they will allow every man or woman standing in line before 5 o'clock to cast their ballot, and therefore voting expected to go on for the next hour or two depending on how much crowd there is at different polling stations. And therefore, judging by past experience, this number of 58% is expected to go up to anywhere between 63 to 65% 40%. So considerably higher polling percent in the second phase of elections, which also has larger number of seats than the first phase. And the concerted efforts of different political parties, the leaders, the Prime Minister, the Congress President, all appealing for a higher voting percentage and asking for people to come out. All of that seems to have had its impact on ground.
Okay, let's go to Gurpreet Chinna, who is also there with us. He's there with a number of voters. Gurpreet ji, coming to you. Can you hear me?
Yes, well, of course, this constituency where we are reporting at this point of time, Hardik Patel is a big bet of the BJP. Some of the voters, they are with us, we will talk to him. तो क्या लगता है कि क्या मेन जो इश्यूज हैं यहाँ के, आपके किस तरह कैंडिडेट को वोट कर रहे हैं आज?
देखो, हमें जहाँ पर लग रहा है कि विरमगाम एरिया ऐसा है जो रूरल एरिया से भी डेवलप हो रहा है, तो यहाँ की जो समस्याएं हैं जैसे कि गटर की सुविधाएं हैं वो प्रॉपर नहीं है, डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है तो उसके अंदर स्कूल, अस्पताल, ये सुविधाएं प्रॉपर नहीं है। तो जो हार्दिक पटेल अभी युवा चेहरा है, जनता भी यही चाहती है कि बुजुर्ग को छोड़ के भी नए को मौका दिया जाए।
पर आम आदमी पार्टी भी इस बार आ रही है, तो क्या लगता है, क्योंकि वो भी ये प्रॉमिस कर रहे हैं, पंजाब में भी हमने वोट जीते हैं और इलेक्शन जीती है, तो क्या लगता है कि आम आदमी पार्टी फर्स्ट टाइम ट्रायंगुलर कॉन्टेस्ट हो रहा है? और पहले अगर हिस्ट्री देखें तो 10 साल लगातार कांग्रेस रही है यहाँ पे।
देखो, यहाँ का जनता का मूड ऐसा लग रहा है, आम आदमी पार्टी की अगर बात करें तो हम लोग गुजरात से है, खुद कमाते, खुद खाते और खुद पे भी करते हैं। जहां पर उन्होंने फ्री का इश्यू उठा दिया, वोटर उनसे वैसे ही दूर होना शुरू हो गया है।
तो आपको क्या लगता है, आप भी यहाँ के वोटर हैं, आज क्या माइंड में रहा आपके वोट डालने के टाइम पे, क्या इश्यूज रहे, क्या लगता है कि क्या कौन सा कैंडिडेट क्या दे सकता है यहाँ?
जो हमने मैनिफेस्टो देखा था हार्दिक पटेल का, उसके हिसाब से जो विरमगाम को चाहिए वही उसने दिए है, सारी सुविधाएं देने का वादा किया है, तो हम डेफिनेटली हार्दिक पटेल के साथ ही जाएंगे।
तो आप यहाँ पे यूथ और युवा नेता है, यहाँ पे हार्दिक पटेल की बार बार बात की जा रही है, पहले उनके पीछे कांग्रेस के बड़े नेता थे, उसके बाद वो बीजेपी ज्वाइन करते हैं और बीजेपी के टिकट भी लेते हैं। कहते हैं जो पिछली बार जिसको टिकट दी थी उसको ना मिलने से इन फाइटिंग भी है बीजेपी। तो आप कैसे देखते हैं पूरी इलेक्शन में? और जैसे कि आम आदमी पार्टी फ्रीबीज की बात कर रही है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी की बात कर रही है, तो क्या उस चीजों का कोई वर्कआउट हो रहा है यहाँ स्टेट में?
नहीं, अभी तो मतलब फ्री की बात की है, लेकिन अभी तक ऐसा कुछ हुआ नहीं है। और वैसे फ्री की बात करें तो भाजपा सरकार है, बहुत सारी योजना है जो मतलब मेडिकल सुविधा है, स्कॉलरशिप है, तो बहुत सारी सुविधा है जो फ्री में मिलती है, तो वो इम्पैक्ट गुजरात में नहीं पड़ेगा आम आदमी का।
तो गुजरात में फ्रीबीज का कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं पड़ेगा, तो आपको क्या लगता है कि जो फ्रीबीज है जो आम आदमी पार्टी द्वारा बोली जाती है?
Since you're reporting from Viramgam, a quick look at Viramgam. We had just taken a look at it earlier as well, and who are the three people who are in the fray over here? Just a reminder that you have the man Hardik Patel, who is a partidar up here against an Ahir, who is Lakha Bhai Bharwar, and you have Kuvarji Thakur, who is from the Thakur community, the same community that Alpesh Thakur also belongs to, another OBC. Now let's go back to the other seats that we were talking about, vis-a-vis the Aam Aadmi Party, and how it tells us a story about how strategic. So two major messages. Let's go to the other seats of the Aam Aadmi Party where they have a face-to-face contest.
Fantastic.
Yes, go on.
Now, this is Qatargaon. Surat, the heart of the past agitation. Very, very strong victory margins for the BJP earlier, 12 and 17. Now we have Gopal Italia of the AAP, clearly a partidar leader. I mean, he is a partidar leader in his own right. He's from the past, right? And versus here, Vinubai Moradia and Kalpeshwaraya. Very clearly, the AAP has tried to ensure that it has pushed its caste card well. You know?
All right, C.R. Patil has reached the BJP office. Shri Kamalam, Aishwarya is through with us from there. Yes, Aishwarya, over to you. What exactly is on the agenda of this meeting?
The Gujarat State BJP President C.R. Patil will be addressing the press conference here at Kamalam here in Gandhinagar, and certainly this press conference is all about thanking the voters who have come in large numbers as the hectic schedule of the campaigning ended day before yesterday and yesterday as well. Remember, in Kamalam there were top senior leaders of the BJP who came in, and there was a meeting that was conducted over here to strategize further that how further proceedings will take place if BJP forms the government. Certainly BJP is very confident that they will be winning, and therefore the reason perhaps now C.R. Patil has reached Kamlam, and he will be meeting with top senior leaders of the state, and then will be holding a press conference over here specifically to thank voters.
Another thing one has to say, since you were talking about Surat, by the way, Yuvraj here is from Surat, and he has a very different perspective of what you might think of Gopal Italia's chances from there.
My job is just to give numbers and data.
Yes, you want to quickly jump in there?
On a personal note and on a lighter note, Gopal Italia himself does not want to fight from the seat Katargam because there is a dominant community there, Prajapati, and Prajapatis are not at all supporting him. So off the camera, he spoke to one of my reporter friends, "Ke boss, मेरे को नहीं लड़ना है, अरविंद भाई ने बिठा दिया मेरे को इधर." These were his words. And he is not at all getting the support of Prajapatis for sure.
Okay, that is...
And one more thing, it can be a breaking news for us. The BJP candidate is surely going to win with a margin of minimum 30,000. Minimum.
Well, look, everyone is projecting. We're not allowed to project numbers. I am beginning to see that a couple of channels here and there might be actually doing something a little underhand. Viewers, we're going to try and investigate that and sound out the authorities. But we're going to take a short break. When we come back, some very interesting projections. Viewers, stay with us. Don't go away. It's beginning.